You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
We're expected to be back online by midday. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
We got rain, and I think Gary's going to drive into some too, but a rainy day at the beach is better than a sunny, steamy, humid day in central Alabama. Anyway, thanks to Gary for allowing me to sit in for him. Wyatt Fulton is our esteemed producer. I've worked with him in the past. If you're unfamiliar with my work, I'm a longtime 40-plus year sportscaster in the state of Alabama and have loved every minute of it. What is the old saying? It said, if you love your job, you'll never work a day in life, and that has certainly been the case with me. It was nice last night. I woke up to the sound of a steady rain, and we have just been so dry and hot and steamy for the last week plus. And on a footnote, I remember, we've had summers like this. When I was in school at Alabama, we went 10 straight days at 100 plus. That's not the index. That's the actual temperature. So we've experienced that before. I just don't recall it being in June as much. So, Wyatt, I don't know about you, but, man, August could be a real burner. But anyway, Wyatt, welcome to the show. Appreciate you handling things at Tide 100.9 and 1230 WTBC. How is your life, my friend?
It's going good. I've been, Justin ended up moving on beyond Tide 100.9 to bigger and better things, and we've been holding it down ever since. Been getting up real early for the Martin Houston show at 6 a.m., but we're rocking and rolling. And like you said, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And this week, I'm very thankful. I love that. I love what I do.
All right, I got to ask you, have you had any type of vocation where you had to get up at 4:30 in the morning?
I have. So I used to, back when I was an undergrad, I would work at a donut shop. So I had to be at the store by 4 in the morning. So I was up at like 3 in the morning. I was up at 3 a.m. getting ready for work, and then I was at work from 4 to about 10 o'clock. And then I went on to class and went on about the rest of my day while still keeping up with sports and headlines and the whole 9 yards. And then I used to be a car mechanic as well. I had to get up at 4 a.m. for that to be at the shop by 6 a.m. So it's
car
not my first job.
And a donut guy? Wow.
I've got a flurry of experience. I used to clean condos at the beach as well, and now I'm in sports media. So it's been an certainly odd career path for myself.
I worked my way through the University of Alabama by working on this station. Back when AM was king, that was 1230 WTBC, and I would get up, struggle in for that, and then take a full load of courses and then go back to work. So, but as difficult it was at the time, I loved every minute of it. And I don't know about you, but I did morning radio, morning TV for over half of my career, and every time I woke up at 4:30 or 4, whatever the time was, I wanted to throw the alarm clock through the window. I'm not one of those people that ever adjusted to it. Did you?
No, I hate it. That 4:30 a.m. alarm went off this morning, and there was a small part of me that said, let me just throw my phone across the room. And I wake up at 7 o'clock, 7:30, something like that, and then mosey on into the station. But no, I was good. I was disciplined, as Coach Saban would say. I got up on time, and I went into work, and I am doing everything that I need to be doing nowadays. But no, I'm still not used to that wake-up call.
We've got a really good show lined up for you, and it's been a while since I've been on Tide. It's been a while since I've been on anywhere. I'm semi-retired, I guess, but you can never really hang up the microphone if you started doing this at a very young age, which I did. So I would really encourage and love to talk to some of you folks that I haven't spoken with in a while. So the lines are open at 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904. Love to talk with you. Roger Schultz, one of my all-time favorites and a dear friend, will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. In the next hour, another dear friend, member of the media, Jeff Spiegel from 3340 will be joining us to talk about all things Alabama and then some. So if you'd like to join us again, you can. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC at 205-342-9904. So, just going through the headlines and looking at things nationally, looking at a few things locally. I did notice that, and I'll be honest, the only way to be is transparent. Not a huge NBA guy. I keep up with the NBA draft when Alabama and Auburn and players from this state are in line to be drafted. That wasn't the case this year. So I was just listening a little while ago to Fox, the NBA draft. You know what the big story about the NBA draft is? Not who was picked, it's who was not picked. And it's all this stuff about Bronny James not being selected. I did hear with interest about Zach Edey going 9th to Memphis. He looks to me like a guy that'll play 10 years and he'll be a real force to be reckoned with at the post. So we'll see. Liked his game and loved watching him. And it's been a while since I've talked and done a sports talk show, but I hadn't even had a chance to talk about Alabama's run with Nate Oates to the Final Four. That was about as cool as it gets, and that lit this state up, particularly in Tuscaloosa. So that was all good. But the headline that I was going to pull out is I talked to Wyatt earlier, and he has done some research, in fact, posted a story concerning this. This happened, I think, late yesterday evening, early evening. Alabama received a commitment from a 4-star linebacker, Dawson Merritt. He played at Overland Park up in Kansas. He's the number 7 linebacker overall and 62nd in ESPN's top 100 rankings. This is part of the class of 2025. And you couple with that with what happened on Saturday when Micah DuBose, the offensive tackle from Viger, decided that he too wanted to be in the class of 25. So that is all good news as we look forward to a new regime, a new time, a new era with University of Alabama football now that Kalen DeBoer is on board. But, Wyatt, you did some research and tell us where you posted the article with Dawson Merritt. What kind of linebacker is this? What, 6'3", 215? Is that what I read?
Yeah, that's about his size. I wrote it on Tide100.9.com. He's going to play. I say going to. He looks like he's probably going to play that new Wolf position that Kane Womack has been talking about with his defense, which I believe is the old Jack position in Coach Saban's defense. So just outside backer for those who aren't overly familiar with it. Strong side outside backer, and he's got good ability. He shows ability in pass coverage. He can set the edge in the run game very well. And when he commits to the ball carrier, he is extremely explosive and does not seem to miss many tackles. I've watched a little bit of his high school tape, and when he does commit to making a play, by God, he's ready to make that play, and he's going to make a play. So if Kane Womack sticks around for a while in Tuscaloosa, I think he's got a pretty good linebacker in Dawson Merritt that's going to make a lot of people happy playing that Wolf position here in Tuscaloosa.
Anybody he reminds you of that donned the crimson here over the past couple of years?
Golly, there's been so many good guys who have donned the crimson at the edge room. I'm going to say he reminds me a little bit. This is an odd one. Courtney Upshaw a little bit. I know Courtney didn't quite play that like Wolf position, but I did like Courtney with his hand in the dirt as a pass rusher, and so I think Merritt could have the ability to play a similar position to what Upshaw played.
You can call us at 205-342-9904, and that's what we're going to do right now. We'll go to Rodney, who is dialed in, Tide and TBC. How are you, Rodney?
Hey, Matt, it's Robbie.
Oh, Robbie, not Rodney. Hey,
what's going on, brother?
Even better. How you been? Of course, this is Robbie Glenn, played at Alabama and does many, many wonderful things with his family and Striker. We hadn't talked a lot since, I guess maybe we text during the baseball season, but I'm assuming.
Yeah, during the baseball.
Yeah.
He's struggling. He's having a hard time right now, Matt, but, you know, we're getting through like we always do, working on the Striker Strong Golf Tournament, but wanted to call in. You know, I heard you're taking over Gary, enjoying his birthday. His birthday is today, so wishing him happy birthday as it's on the way to the beach. And I heard you're taking over, so I had to call in. Also, I'm loving all the recruiting. It's great. I mean, I just want to see it on the field. And you know, Wyatt said if he plays anything like Upshaw, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, that's a great
that was
player.
A beast. Yeah, Courtney was awesome. But also want to say congratulations to one of good friends, Prince Wembley. He found out he's going to be. Dabo reached out and putting him on the staff over there at Clemson, so he's moving up there and taking the family. Yeah, found that out yesterday, and I don't know his role yet, but I'm assuming working with receivers since he was such a great one at Alabama back when I was there, and so good for him. That's a great opportunity for him, and I'm excited for him and his family.
You know, I always liked him as a wide receiver. Wasn't he the one that Bill Curry grabbed the face mask of in the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, I believe that was. Yeah, that was one. Yep. Yeah, he was great. Great receiver, could play.
But before he got back into football, he was in the business world, and I used to run into him on occasion.
Everywhere.
And, you know, you're right. He did just show up everywhere, and just really, really personable guy. But if you said I missed it, what is he going to coach for Dabo?
I'm unsure on that right now. His wife had posted about it, and I'm going to reach out to him. I'm assuming he's going to work with receivers or somewhere in that role. But like you said, he's very personable, so maybe in charge of recruiting. I don't know. Like, he's very personable, can get along with everybody. So
I think in terms of personality, though, his wife's got him beat.
she's a go-getter, too. Both of them are. Yeah, they get it.
Before we let you go, I wanted to ask you, it's been the hottest topic since the World Series concluded, and that's Jim Schnossnagle. What the heck? And, man, are Texas and Texas A&M going at it, knives and guns right off the bat?
Yeah, that was kind of shocking, and the timing of it, which I get it. It's a business, and, you know, and I guess he took the NIL deal and the transfer portal to heart, and he went in it himself. But I don't know. I heard he's got a friend there at Texas. Maybe that's why. But that's still, I hate it. You know, because I'm not a fan of the Tennessee coach, but he's not going anywhere. He's built in a program like the money's there. Enjoy it. I don't know why he would leave A&M to go to Texas, but you know he's got his reasons. But I thought he built something good there. He had a great team. He's got all the money there, so I don't know. It shocked me, but that's part of the business we're in now.
The way he did it, Robbie, you know, he just completely undressed a reporter, and then he turns around 18 hours later and just pretty much told everybody he'd lied his butt off because he was taking the job at Texas. And he said, no, I'm an A&M guy. I took this job at A&M. We'll play the quote a little bit later, but that's frustrating. As far as Vitello is concerned, you know, the rubbing of dirt on it and the talk about his dad, just, you know, come on, man. I mean, that is really, Robbie, that is a huge, come on, man.
He's fiery, but he can get those players going. So, you know, all power to him. He's not my favorite. You know, you don't want to go against him because, you know, we've talked about it when you're back on your show with Jay and Lars. You know, back when I was coming on your show, it's like some of his players, you know, back in the day, that wasn't going to fly. The way they would taunt and do some of the stuff, the annex when they hit a home run. See, you coming around first base, I was going to throw an elbow. We were going to go at it. Or, you know, the next batter was going to catch one because you're showboating like that. But that's just the way it's going, I guess. The new era, but that's the way he coaches. Gets his players fired up. But anyways, I'm about to go in a meeting, but Matt, come see me. You know where we live. Come by the pool. I know it's hot, so just come enjoy it. And enjoy the show today and the week.
That's when you just get in the pool and stay there. But I appreciate the invite. Yep. I'll take you up on it, and our best to your family and to Striker for sure.
Thank you. And Wyatt, you come too when you're not working all the time.
It's not at the donut shop.
All right. Roll Tide.
Thank you, Robbie. The number is 205-342-9904. Let's go to Tom, who joins us on the Gary Harris Show.
Matt, this is, how are you this morning, by the way?
Just terrific, man. I'm doing what I love.
This kind of is a throwback to the old days on the Mighty 690 when you and Scott were on the air together. I loved that show back then. And when Gary announced yesterday you'd be filling in, I thought, great. Call in and bombard you with historic stuff.
Go ahead.
Matt, I was thinking about something that you and Scott did when you were on the air, and you found one of Miss Terry Saban's friend in Baton Rouge. You remember that interview you and he did with her when the rumors were flying that he was coming to Alabama? You remember that?
Golly, I do now, but I would have never remembered it on my own.
You remember
because that was that's almost 20 years ago, Tom.
Well, I know, Matt. I know I'm asking a lot, but it was so when you think back about Coach Saban coming to Alabama and Miss Terry and all like that, it's always held a very interesting thing to me. But in that interview, you remember, Coach Saban and Miss Terry Catholic, and this friend of hers was Catholic too, and she said that they went down to South Florida to visit Miss Terry, and they had all these kids, and it's like a couple of Suburbans of mothers and kids. They get down there and they go out to eat at a restaurant, and they said the waiters and the serve staff in that restaurant in South Florida kind of turned their nose up at them because they had all these kids with them. You remember saying that?
I do not. I got to be totally honest with you. So what happened?
Well, right now, because of the way those people acted, you and Scott had her on saying, what are the chances that they would leave Miami and come to Alabama? That was the theme of the show right during that period of time. And I found that to be so interesting in that interview back in the day.
When you mentioned the part about Miss Terry getting very angry, part of it did come back to me with great clarity. Yes, I do remember that part of it for sure. And once the Sabans got to Tuscaloosa and they embraced, and vice versa, the atmosphere and the love that Tuscaloosa showed and then the Sabans showed back to Tuscaloosa, I think had more to do with them saying 17 years as a coach and why they're still hanging around there.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to bring a good memory up of
that's a good one.
The show.
Well, hey, come up with another one and call me again Friday and again on Monday, and then we'll take that little trip down memory lane.
Yeah, it's a lot of them, Matt. I really enjoyed that show too, so I'll do it. See ya.
It was a blast. Thank you, Tom. If you'd like to join us on the phones, again, it's 205-342-9904. We'll be back with more of the Gary Harris Show. Happy birthday to Gary. You're listening to his show on Tide 100.9 and 1230 WTBC.
Changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather not as hot today. A mix of sun and clouds, a few scattered showers and storms, mainly this afternoon and this evening. The high today 91, tonight's low 73. Tomorrow, partly sunny, a passing shower or storm possible during the day. The high 94. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 75 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
for Gary Harris. Taking some time off for his birthday and all. Get a little sun at the beach. Maybe not today. It's kind of raining down there, too. But it's overcast here, and as James just told you, 75 degrees and not as hot today. So glad to hear that. And then it's just going to heat up over the weekend. So that's the way it goes in the South. Now, if you'd like to join us, 205-342-9904. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Also, download our app, our Tide 100.9 app. You can also message us if you're like sitting in the office with the earbuds in and you just want to message something. We'll discuss it as well. You can do that just simply downloading the app and sending us a message. Coming in a little bit, we're joined by Roger Schultz, and then Jeff Spiegel will join us in the second hour. Just to continue the topic a little bit further with you, Wyatt, you probably had a chance to talk about it, but you got a different reaction, a different perspective on this Texas A&M deal with baseball and Jim Schlossnagle, because it didn't absolutely stun me that he left A&M to go to Austin, but it's what really got me is the way he did it. I mean, he just... Do we have the cut?
Yeah, we've got the audio for it if we want to play it here really quick.
Yeah, let's do that before we go to the bottom of the hour, and you and I can talk about it, and then we'll bring on the nut, Roger Schultz. This is the question and answer with Schlossnagle after the game, after they lost the national championship game to Tennessee, and how adamant he was about staying in Aggieland.
Coach, with respect to the difficult outcome tonight, but with the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question. But I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Well,
Coach, thank you.
They would have to edit it immediately. If you wrote that, it wouldn't be correct. So if the situation were not combative enough, I mean, he just poured gas on it by saying all those things. And, yeah, I'm a longtime member of the media, and I defend my colleagues. And Jim needs to pick up the phone and apologize to that reporter. I didn't get his name, but let me tell you, first of all, he asked the question about as perfectly as you can in a situation like that. I know they just lost the national championship game, the World Series, and that's painful. It's emotional. You get a question like that, you're probably going to get a little emotional, but not to that extent. And then he talks about moving his family there and being forever, and then he turns around and, Wyatt, what was it? Somebody said it was 18 hours later he takes the job at Texas. That's just crazy.
Yeah, 18 hours later he turns around and takes a completely different job. By the way, he acted like he moved cross country. It's 2.5 hours from Fort Worth to College Station. So if he really wanted to, because his family's in Fort Worth, if he really wanted to, he still could see his family there in Fort Worth, or they moved to College Station with him. I don't know. But it was the way he went about it, I think, is the biggest thing. And, attack, just like you basically say, undressing that reporter just... The reporter did as good of a job as he could, and he actually did apologize to that reporter publicly in his press conference yesterday at Texas. But still, it was
I missed that. That's good. That tells me a little bit about Schlossnagle, but I don't know why. He had to know, right?
Oh, he knew.
When he's standing at the podium addressing him after the game, he had to know he was going to go, or it was really close. Why would you go to that extent? It doesn't do A&M any good. It doesn't do Texas any good either. So that was poorly handled. And if Texas and Texas A&M didn't have a bigger rivalry, they do certainly now, because now they're in the same league. They're in the Southeastern Conference, and they're going to come in swinging fists, the Aggies and the Longhorns. So anyway, I had not heard that he had apologized to the reporter, but I'm glad that he showed some accountability and went ahead and apologized, because it was necessary. That guy was just doing his job. He did it, and now, what's the word on an A&M coach? Anything?
I haven't heard anything in that direction, although I have heard that whoever it is, A&M is going to throw basically the farm at that person, because they're now dead set on being better than Texas in baseball because of the way that happened, because of the coach taking all the assistants, more than likely going to pull half the roster as well with him to Texas. So they're now dead set on it. I've heard Texas A&M is going to be very, very generous with its baseball giving and the baseball money this upcoming season for both the coaching staff and the players. So Texas A&M is probably not going to go anywhere in baseball.
Well, when they throw the farm, or in this case, I guess in Texas, it would be the ranch at a new coach. That's a Jimbo Fisher ranch, because they've got so much money. But it'll be interesting to see how that works out. I heard somebody say, man, I would not want to have a highly regarded top 10, top 15 type baseball program at that level and have a coach like that, because somebody's going to come after him. Vitello, no, I don't think that's happening. But it is interesting now as the SEC grows how we're bringing more and more of these intense rivalries into the best league in the nation. So, and not just football. It's all very cool. Enjoy. Hey, Roger Schultz, one of my all-time favorites, and yours too. If you go back to the late 80s and early 90s, he was the most popular player on campus. There's no question. We'll be back with that, and we continue with the Gary Harris Show on this Thursday.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show for a Friday edition of the program. It'll be a free-for-all Flashback Friday. The phone lines will be open. Also, remember that there'll be a little OT of the Martin Houston Show on Alabama Sports and the Martin Houston Show on Facebook. Those conversations and more right here on your home for Alabama Sports.
Text DEAL to 511-511.
Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Catch every game and every moment right here. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Matt Coulter in for Gary Harris. First hour of the Gary Harris Show is brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Get that, need that. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. And join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change. There you go. Put a little extra change in your pocket. Again, Matt in for Gary, and joined by long time and one of Alabama's favorite sons as far as wearing the crimson. That's Roger Schultz is online with us. Roger, how are you, man? Where are you down in the Fairhope, Spanish Fort area? Where are you?
Well, yeah, I'm actually on 65 heading north to hit beautiful Monroeville, Frisco City, Monroeville, and Fort Deposit, Alabama. So,
you have business there, or is that just your vacation spot?
That's just where I go to vacation.
People want to know what you're doing these days. You mind filling us in?
No, I don't mind. No, I work for a company called Republic Services. I call on municipalities in Frisco City, Monroeville, and Fort Deposit, and try to do their garbage and, their residential, commercial garbage services and stuff like that. So collection and disposal. So that's what I'm doing. Kind of hanging around, plugging away, throwing punches, trying to make miracles happen.
Well, that's just what you've been doing since birth. I was thinking about last night. Yeah, and you had company. I don't know that a lot of people know that you had company at birth.
I did. I had a buddy. So my brother, I got a twin brother, Steve. So a lot of people are surprised by that or don't realize it or whatever. Yeah, but I do have a twin brother, and we're complete opposites. So,
well, he wasn't that night in Louisville, but we're not going there. Okay, Roger and I have had shows together. We've done broadcasts together. Interviewed him when he was at Alabama every week because he was so quotable. But yeah. I remember those Steel Dog days with fondness because you and I.
We had a good time with the Steel Dogs. Yeah, we had a good time with Steel Dogs.
Hey,
and little Matt is going with us and hanging out with us too. He had a good time.
Oh, I think Hashmark went with us once to someplace in Georgia. We won't talk about that either. Cause,
that wasn't a pleasant experience.
No, and we're teasing too much and not giving them information. All right, I haven't talked to you since DeBoer was hired. Actually, since Saban retired and Kalen was hired. Were you surprised when you heard about Saban retire?
I guess a little surprised. I mean, I kind of got the feeling. I somewhere felt somewhere along the line that he's getting probably kind of tired of it. You know, it's changing so much, you know. But they had they rallied up. I mean, they're one play away, really, from playing for the national championship. And, and so who would know what would have happened if they had made the championship game? It might have been a different story, but whatever. It didn't happen. And he decided to, move on. So obviously a little shocked, but not completely surprised. You could I kind of felt like it was, plus, my goodness, he's 71 years old. I mean, let's enjoy a little time here. Come on. So,
and he is. I'm a little surprised that he has been this active. But then again, you've got that kind of retirement package. I'd be at the beach.
Think about it, man. Well, look, that sucker has been driven his whole life. He takes 3 weeks vacation a year, whatever, and forced to have to really do that because Miss Terry get on him. So, yeah, now that he doesn't have, he probably doesn't know what to do with himself. He goes, I can go to this event. I can go to this event. Seems like he's everywhere having a good time. I tell you one thing, he doesn't seem to be nitpicking the football team. It doesn't seem like he's making opinions or, needling or trying to get involved. I think he's basically, hey, Kalen DeBoer, if you need me to say something, you can call me. But other than that, I'm not going to go run your program, which I think is pretty interesting. So,
didn't you kind of think that would be the Saban way, though?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I call coaches have egos and they want to do it their way, and he built it up. And I think he'd want to see it continue. But that just goes to show you how Saban is. Is like, hey, I built. Successful leaders can walk away and the thing still be successful. Now that's yet to be determined, but I think Kalen DeBoer is going to do a fine job, and I think Alabama is going to be as competitive as they've always been. Even though the national media and everybody's almost kind of, they got Alabama going to the playoffs, but they kind of have written them off. If you say going to the playoffs is being written off, but it's interesting. So.
Roger Schultz is our guest here on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Matt Coulter sitting in on the Gary Harris Show. Would he have been your first selection? Who else did you think should be considered or was considered?
Oh, gosh. I like the choice. I think that, I kind of like guys that have been winners everywhere they've been, and I like that part of it. I think he did a great job at Washington, but he also realized that it's probably not going to be, you probably can't contain that, I guess. And plus it's Alabama. So, no, I'm not, he was, when they said his name, I thought, I think that's great. There's always those other guys you think, Kirby Smart's not going to come back. He'd have probably been a good choice. But you kind of look for guys like that, Dabo would Dabo come back? I don't know. I don't even think they even talked to Dabo. But, it would have been interesting to see if they had actually offered him the job, what he would have done. But other than that, no, I just want somebody that's kind of been around and has done a great job and built programs. As crazy as it sounds, old Willie Fritz has done a great job. Like everywhere he's been very, very successful in building programs. that goes all the way back to, he started off at junior college, right? Went to Pittsburgh State, did all that. I mean, he went to Division II. He's worked his way up, but he's been extremely successful everywhere he's been. So I kind of look at those kind of guys. Brian Kelly's the same way. I mean, Brian Kelly started at Division II, was at Grand Valley State, kind of worked his way up. He's done a great job. And you've seen that with it. And when his first year at LSU, he did an outstanding job. I mean, probably fell back a little bit last year, but I had a Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback. So that's not too shabby. Yeah. So, but no, Caleb DeBoer, I mean, I don't know how time will tell if it's a home run hire or a triple, double, single, or a bunt, sacrifice fly. Who knows? I don't know. But I think it's, from everything I can tell, though, if things are going well, I mean, everybody goes, oh, God, recruit's going to fall off. Well, it ain't falling off. Hey, I mean, it's actually pretty good. So it's good. I would have loved it. If he could have kept his offensive coordinator and his offensive line coach that marched with him for now it's Seattle Seahawks, both those guys. I kind of wish he could have kind of kept those guys because there'd have been that really strong continuity on offense. But Coach Cap, the offensive line coach at Alabama, I've always been a big fan of his. I followed his career, there's this thing called the Mushroom Society, the Cool Clinic, that's a bunch of offensive line coaches, and I've seen enough of his teach tape to know that he's a pretty good offensive line coach, better than the last guy, I can promise that. So that'll be a good thing too.
Hey, you mentioned Dabo. You played with him, and I think you were a GA when he was there, and he was a GA. But you and Dabo go way back. What do you think about his handling or not handling the NIL and transfer portal?
I think it's interesting. I think he brings up legitimate point that, hey, I can't get guys in there better than I got. I mean, and he's true to a deal, but you got to be able to fill in spots, right? I mean, there might be, Alabama. I think one of the schools that's done a great job is Alabama. It's not like Alabama totally sells herself out for people. They kind of get a guy that fills a need, and they do a good job. You remember they got the defensive back from UAB that kind of filled a need. They got, they've got the guys that kind of just fill a need. I think Dabo's definitely got a need for some guys, but he got, he was trying to find a couple offensive linemen, and he said that the ordeal was so crazy. It's like these guys are, one of the guys they approached was a kid from Tennessee, and they said, hey, we're going to give you an opportunity to come here. And he goes, well, I want to start. And he goes, well, you didn't start at Tennessee, and we're better than Tennessee. I mean, and then he goes, I need guaranteed, $16,000 a month, which is like, I can't even believe somebody would even ask that, but I guess it's being done. But and Dabo's like, you're second team. And we're Clemson. So, I mean, I like it. I mean, will it come back and bite him? I don't know. I mean, he's still winning. They struggled a little bit last year, but I think that was I don't necessarily know. I mean, they were close in a lot of games and stuff like that, but I like what Dabo's. I think it's all eventually going to probably come back some way, shape, or form to how Dabo's doing it anyway. They're going to put a kibosh on some of this stuff, I think, somewhere along the line, or limit it, or you can only do so much. I mean, because there's only a few schools that can do it anyway. But I don't have a problem with what Dabo's doing. I mean, I really hope it works, so then it can prove that, hey, it can be done this way instead of having wholesale changing your roster every year. My goodness, that's crazy. I mean, you're still trying to build a team and unity and buy-in and trust that guy next to you, and you're changing all the time. It's hard to do.
You were an all-SEC center. I think you started every single game from freshman through senior year with the exception of one, and I think that that might have more to do with Gene Stallings than anybody. But was there a point you would have ever considered transferring?
Well, I mean, so I was a 2-year starter. I started my freshman year, started my sophomore year, and I went to my grandfather's in 1989, in the summer of '89. I spent time when he was 87 years old. I just wanted to spend time with him, just me and him. It was my mother. It's my father, my mom's dad. And I didn't want to. I just want to spend time with him, and so I spent time with him. I came in out of shape, and I didn't get to start that Memphis game. That's the first game. It was under Curry. It was that first game in '89. I didn't get to start, but I started the rest of the games. But there was a point in time where they pulled me, like about the third game in. We're playing Vanderbilt, and I fumbled the ball. We had a fumble with Gary Holland, and it was a driving rainstorm. And they pulled me and put Doogie in, and I'm like, what the hell y'all doing? I need to be in there, And that probably crossed my mind that, man, this is crazy. I thought I already paid my dues. I took my punishment, and I earned my starting position back. And then when we played Vanderbilt, I had that bump snap, and next thing you know, and it probably crossed my mind that, man, maybe I need to go. But I would never leave Alabama. I mean, I loved Alabama, and I'd have much rather been at Alabama being a damn second team guy than going anywhere else and being a starter. But no, I didn't really ever consider. Never even crossed my mind. I was so blessed to be at Alabama. I mean, it never ever crossed my mind about transfer.
Roger, do you talk to Gary? And following that up, give me a good Hollingsworth story, because you guys had a bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I still talk to Gary. We got kind of like a little group chat. There's about 10 or 11 of us on there. Hope nobody discovers that group chat, but but Gary's just great. I mean, you just talk about all that. I mean, think about what he went through to end up being a starter, being an all SEC, the all offensive SEC player of the year in '89, coming off the bench, but he just could run, Homer's offense. That was smart, intelligent, and could, distribute the ball, and it was great. Because he wasn't doing real on football; he was playing baseball.
Yeah.
And he went up to it's funny because he went up to he was at Vanderbilt playing. They're playing Vanderbilt baseball, and I guess he gave up like 4 or 5 home runs. And we went to play Vanderbilt that next year, and we're all like, "Hey, look, Gary, there's a ball flying out of the stadium. Is that yours?" Hey, he's a good guy.
Hey, can you hang on and do one more small segment with me? Or are you in Fort Deposit yet? Okay.
I'm in Bay Minette now. I'm headed there. All right. Hold on.
Roger Schultz will hang on, and when we get back, we'll talk about the car. I believe it was a Maverick. What a great story. You're listening to the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 and 1230 WTBC.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of The Game, we're going to feature Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com, the editor, the founder. We're going to talk about what's next in the world of Alabama recruiting. That and a lot more with your phone calls at 205-342-9904. Starting at 2 p.m. here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa.
High quality ingredients. We want to say, that sounds great. We've been doing that since 1974. Under the biggest keg that's in town, Taco Casa.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather not as hot today. A mix of sun and clouds, a few scattered showers and storms, mainly this afternoon and this evening. The high today 91, tonight's low 73. Tomorrow, partly sunny, a passing shower or storm possible during the day. The high 94. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3240 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 75 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show. Touchdown, Alabama! On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Matt Coulter in for Gary Harris. Our guest is Roger Schultz here on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. And don't forget to download the app, too. You can message us there as well. We probably bring this up every 3 or 4 times that you and I do a radio interview. But I remember when I was at Channel 13 and Greg Screws and I came over there, and I think we were hanging around Bryant Hall, and we saw this awful car. And I happened to ask you about it, or maybe you were driving. I don't know. But just give us the story of the car.
So I didn't have a car in college. And Duga had a guy that had a car that he let us have. It was a 74 Ford Maverick. It literally took more transmission fluid than it did gasoline. I mean, the thing was awful. And seats were broke. But we decided to paint it. And we spray painted it and put our numbers on the side of it. And then, of course, I was in an accident with it. And, somebody said, well, why'd they hit you? I said, well, because the car looked like a bullseye. It's like, hit me right in the side. But, no, that car was funny. So we had some girls that were on campus, and they called it the Spirit car. They just loved it. And so they said, can we drive your car on the weekend? Like we go to the game or whatever. And so we were, I guess they went out to a bar, and somebody saw the car at a bar, and literally about 1:30 in the morning, we get a knock on our hotel room. Kazuga and I, it was his car, but we roomed together too. And they get a call, and they just want to check, make sure you were here, because they said they saw your car out at the bar. And I'm like, God, I got a game to play, man. But it was kind of funny, but it was, it was interesting. It was funny. So when we spray painted it, we had the windows down, and it was a bunch of red dust, got on the car seats or whatever. And I went on a date that night with white pants. And needless to say, those white pants turned pink. It was not a good look, needless to say, but that was fun, man. That was a good car. We put like beer caps on the dials for the radio, and anything that had a dial, we put beer caps on it, I don't know. It was cool. And then, we had another car. So Demos had a car. He had a 67 Ford Fairlane. We cut the top off of it.
Yeah.
And then that thing broke down, and it stayed at Bryant Hall parking lot years after we were done. And actually, I guess some fraternity guys thought it was funny, and they planted like a tree in it. It had like a tree in the car and stuff. But they finally, I think it was an eyesore, and they got rid of it. But that was an interesting deal too.
If you were playing today, who would you select, and who do you think others would select as your NIL endorsement?
I don't know, man. I probably would have had a lot of barbecue places, strip clubs. I'd have had. I don't know what it would have been. I don't know. It's crazy though.
You would have had to fight them off. You were so popular.
Hey, I would have been working it too. I was a marketing major, so yeah. I've definitely been working it. Figuring it out, coming up with T-shirts. I'm creative. I'm creative to a degree. So, all these guys try to invent these T-shirts. Lank, which I don't know. That's kind of goofy to me, but it worked because I don't know, Lank. Whatever. But I thought I could have came up with T-shirts. Obviously, I should. You know what though? They came out with a thing too, where if you're a A club member now or something, you can go through their marketing department to do something. I'm like, dude, I ought to be selling T-shirts I ought to pay our property tax on Neyland Stadium because we own it, even though we lost the bench, but we're still pretty good. I ought to be hammering
that. Was your quote?
Yeah,
that was yours.
Hammering that sucker. I got a great picture of me with the Fu Man, my Fu Manchu, and put that quote next to me and sell that T-shirt. My gosh.
You can still do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing it. I guess I own the rights to I don't know. I have to ask
I think
somebody.
you have to copyright them or something like that. But hey, we got about 60 seconds or less here. Just quick, tell us where your son's doing. I know he's playing some baseball. How's Hashmore?
Hey, he's playing football. He's out in Odessa, Texas. He's at UTPB, University of Texas Permian Basin, playing football. So,
well, tell him and tell Paige hello. God bless you.
I'll do it, man. All right, man. Take care, buddy.
Thank you, Roger.
Appreciate you. All right.
All right, you too. Roger Schultz, former All-SEC center, University of Alabama Crimson Tide. What a character. Hey, we've managed to get an hour under the belt here on the Gary Harris Show. Matt Coulter along with Wyatt Fulton will be back top of the hour. I got to tell you what's going on in my backyard because it is some kind of crazy.
Or text DEAL to 511-511.
Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour specials. And for the best Mexican cuisine in West Alabama, remember, the name is Los Tarascos with locations in Tuscaloosa and Northport.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monty Bolaños.
The Boston Celtics just announced that Kristaps Porzingis has undergone successful surgery and is expected to return to play in 5 to 6 months, which would put an expected return date right around the holidays in November, December. In the NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks selected Zachary Rizache as the number 1 pick. The Washington Wizards selected Alex Sarr with the number 2 pick. Two-time player of the year, Zach Edey of Purdue, went number 9 to the Memphis Grizzlies. Tennessee's Dalton Knecht fell to 17 to the LA Lakers. Bronny James, the son of NBA superstar LeBron James, was not selected in the first round. The second round begins today at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. In Major League Baseball, the Dodgers beat the White Sox 4-0 behind rookie starter Gavin Stone's complete game shutout. Shohei Ohtani hit his National League leading 25th homer of the season.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
West Alabama Democrat Congresswoman Terry Sewell marked the 11th anniversary of the landmark Shelby County versus Holder ruling by the Supreme Court, which struck down key components of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. She claimed the reversal reduced voting rights for minorities. The Holt Lock has been closed by the Army Corps of Engineers on the Black Warrior River due to a safety risk resulting from aging infrastructure. And power company crews have spent the morning restoring power to customers who lost it during yesterday afternoon's thunderstorm activity. More storms are possible today.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Not Gary Harris. I'm Matt Coulter. I'm going to sit in for him as he does a little vacationing and celebrating his 60th birthday. So happy birthday to Gary, and I'll be here again tomorrow and again on Monday. Love to talk to you. Hadn't been able to do this in a while in Tuscaloosa, so dial the phone, 205-342-9904. By the way, the second hour of the Gary Harris Show is brought to you by Patterson Comer Law Firm. Patterson Comer is dedicated to serving our clients. Integrity and excellence are the driving force behind the firm and its staff. Clients and prospective clients are treated with utmost respect and care. Our business is to take care of your needs. Call Paul Patterson in Tuscaloosa, 205-345-1000, or Mike Comer in Northport, 205-759-3000. 3939. PattersonComerLawFirm.com.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of services performed by other lawyers.
Thank you, sir. Hey, as we get ready to go into the second hour here, I'll remind you that Jeff Spiegel will be around at 10:30, and Jeff Spiegel goes back to the days we were both covering Roger Schultz when he played at Alabama, but that's something to look forward. In the meantime, we'll take your calls. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, literally. Talk about the rain. I am going to talk about something that maybe you had to be here, but you probably heard it. Wyatt, in the first hour, did you hear anything that sounded like a chainsaw? Maybe it wasn't as noticeable to those listening as it was to me. Did you hear anything like that?
I didn't hear anything in the background, no.
Well, I heard it. First, I didn't know what it was. Thought maybe there was, somebody outside in the front yard or, racing a motorcycle. I knew it was just really, really loud. Then I looked up out of my back window under a patio. My patio's gone. Now, we knew we were going to have some work done on the patio, but in the first hour between 9 and 10, they managed to dismantle my entire patio. And I can't believe nobody heard that. But anyway, I walked out there at the top of the hour to see what was going on. Man, they've taken it all down. They're going to put up a new one. So that's something to be excited about, although in this day and age right now in recent weather, I have not been using my patio as often. Sometimes at night, but anyway. Some of the stories, Dawson Merritt is the recent commitment to the University of Alabama as a linebacker out of Overland Park, Kansas. I do find it interesting to note that he had narrowed it to two schools, the University of Alabama and Nebraska, and he picked Alabama. And you did the story on him on Tide 100.9's website, and he was just... He could not gush enough about Alabama facilities and Kalen DeBoer. Isn't that the way you read it? You wrote the article.
Yeah, he committed to Alabama and Kalen DeBoer over Nebraska. I know he was a little bit torn on that. He's actually also the son. I didn't know this until just a couple of minutes ago. He's the son of the Kansas City Chiefs' current defensive backs coach, Dave Merritt. So kind of a neat little anecdote there. Yep.
I guess that's why he's in Kansas.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make a lot of sense up there near Kansas City.
Yep. Man, I haven't talked to this guy in a long time. Let's go to the phones on the Gary Harris Show at 205-342-9904, and let's talk with the one and only Cowboy. Cowboy, I'm assuming you're still in Texas.
Oh, yeah, just got off the horse.
Literally?
No, not literally. I just had to say that.
Well,
I'm driving to look at a couple properties, and I cut through some areas. But I thought I'd listen to the Gary Harris show. Then you were in charge of it, and I said, well, let me call Matt and see how he's doing. Hadn't talked to him in a while. My brother saw you up at Baumhauer's a few weeks ago, I believe.
It was just a couple of weeks ago. We had a chat and caught up. I run into him occasionally, but I never see you.
No, I don't. I was back in Alabama last fall for the Texas game, but I hadn't been back since then. I don't get back as much now since my mother passed away 4.5 years ago. Well, my brother would meet us down at the beach in the summer, me and the kids, and so we kind of do that, have fun. But what's your take on this Jim Schlossnagle from Aggie Land, Longhorn Land, 40 acres?
It's crazy. I think he embarrassed the heck out of himself and both universities in the process. He's a heck of a coach. We all know that. You know, he's literally within a run of tying it and winning a national championship in the College Baseball World Series. But to handle it the way he did, that's Alabama and Auburn. You know this, Cowboy. That's an intense rivalry. Texas and Texas A&M is pretty fierce too. And if it could get more intense in baseball, certainly Schlossnagle made it so. What did you think?
Yeah, I saw it, and the lady I work with is a big A&M person. I said Sunday, it looks like the Longhorns fired the coach. They want to hire the Tennessee guy. And she said, no, they're going after Schlossnagle. I said, really? She said, oh, yeah. And so, you know, I think they had him hired a week or so ago. I don't know why they just didn't wait, because I heard this morning Barry and them were talking that the assistant coaches were calling recruits on burner phones, not using the A&M phones, because they all left and went with him over to Texas. And he worked at TCU for the AD, Chris Del Conte, which is big buddies with Greg Burns, the Alabama AD. And I met Del Conte once. He's a pretty nice guy, but he's high energy. And you know, it's a strange hire, because the rivalry is really going to be intense now. And everywhere Texas goes in the SEC, they better get ready, because the vitriol is going to be out for them, because they think they can buy anything, you know. And I guess they just did to A&M.
Don't you think Texas already had a bullseye on their back of being the bad guy coming into this league, and now they're already taking it up a notch?
Oh, yeah. How many down-em horns penalties do you think the SEC officials are going to call in football this fall? Or do you think they're going to let it slide, or is Texas going to cry about that? Boy, they don't like that.
Yeah. First of all, it's dumb. Don't you think?
What's that? To penalize a team for the down-em horns?
For doing the down.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do far worse with your hands, couldn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But you know what Texas did, Alabama and the bands, was just absolutely wrong. And you're right. And I would think, let's just throw this open for conversation. Who thinks their Longhorn doesn't stink any more than Texas? In the nation, not in the SEC.
Oh yeah.
Don't you think they're bigger for their britches than anybody in college football or college athletics?
Yeah.
I mean, Ohio State, are they there? I mean, Michigan isn't very well liked. I don't think it's in the same manner as the Texas Longhorns.
Right. Well, you know, they had their own network. They killed the Big 12. They killed the Southwest Conference. They killed two leagues. Now they're working on the third in the SEC.
Well,
not to say they'll do it, but
Cowboy, you're sitting in the middle of it. Thing about it is, Texas can back it up, and I would not be. Would you be surprised if Texas won in their first year of the Southeastern Conference in Atlanta?
No, sir. I wouldn't be.
Me either.
I was going to. They used to really get on my nerves, but when they hired Steve Sarkisian, I kind of like him, and I've kind of mellowed on them a little bit because they're coming in the SEC at a perfect time. They had an SEC experienced head coach. They had a coaching staff that had coached in the SEC, and they're really set up to succeed. In Oklahoma, they got a long road to go.
But you know what? I think they're a lot closer than I thought they would be. I think Venables really turned it around from year one to year two. Would you agree?
Yeah, but I don't think their roster's ready for that SEC grind.
Probably
and the
not.
Schedule they got. They got to go to Ole Miss. They got to go to Auburn. They got Alabama at home. Then the next week they close the season at LSU. And then they got Tennessee. I think they got some tough football games. I don't see them being better than 8-4 at the best. I got them losing at Auburn, Alabama beating them up there, losing at LSU, probably maybe at home to Tennessee. There's 4, Texas 5, Ole Miss 6. What else you want me to say, Matt?
I'm just saying that this 16-team conference is just something else.
It's brutal.
It's going to be incredible.
And Texas' schedule's pretty easy for them coming late. They got Georgia at home. They got Florida at home. Vandy on the road. I don't know it offhand yet, but their schedule's pretty easy compared to some teams, But hey, Matt, I just wanted to holler at you.
Hey, real quick, I got another question for you. What's the word at on around Arch Manning?
Oh, they love him. I tell people that they're going to be calling for Arch Manning to be the quarterback by mid-year. Yours is in a no-win situation.
Except for his NIL.
Yeah. But,
all right, Cowboy.
All right, you be good. You on tomorrow? I'll be listening.
Yep, I'll be here. Call me again tomorrow. We'll catch up again, talk more about Texas.
Oh, that's all right. We talk about Alabama. But, I probably got your guy stirred up. He'll call the show Digger. That's the Texas Longhorn expert that calls Gary and Wimp and them. He might call him now. He lives in Louisiana.
I think we've taken his call on our Saturday shows, so I look forward to that. We'll talk to him.
Yeah.
And, good luck on your property evaluation there.
I will. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm about through. Got one more to go. All right. Thank you, Matt.
Go for it.
Be good, buddy.
All right. Upside down Longhorns to you. Oh, man, that guy has been calling Sports Talk Radio since Sports Talk Radio started in Birmingham. I guess it really started back in the 80s. Eli Gold had his show, and then, man, they just started growing out of the trees. So it's been fantastic. Okay, got a couple of other things to bring up. One of them is concerning something that truly scares me, maybe more than others, I don't know. But I would really like to get opinions. I'll ask Wyatt, but it really scares me, and not just from a sports perspective. This is from a national and worldwide perspective, and I guess you guys might need to body check me because perhaps I'm going overboard. I don't think so. Hey, you're listening to the Gary Harris Show, 205-342-9904 on Tide 100.9 and 1230 WTBC.
Changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather not as hot today. A mix of sun and clouds, a few scattered showers and storms, mainly this afternoon and this evening. The high today 91, tonight's low 73. Tomorrow, partly sunny, a passing shower or storm possible during the day. The high 94. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 75 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Wyatt Fulton is our premier producer of the day. Wyatt's in the studios at Tide 100.9. I'm Matt Coulter, in for Gary Harris. Appreciate you dialing us in. Wyatt, I don't know if you saw this story. I read it this morning online that NBC announced Wednesday that the network will use artificial intelligence, the old AI, to bring Al Michaels' voice to the Paris Olympics. You know, all of this on the surface I think is great. What he will do is I best try and put this in a capsule for you, is that way I read it is that they will have recaps of the highlights of the Olympics of the day, and they will use Al Michaels' AI voice in order to produce them. And Al Michaels said he was very, very worried and concerned about it. He really didn't want to do it. But then once they pitched it to him and told him how they were going to do it, he said he was okay with it. And, you know, as long as the guy agrees that they can use his voice, fine. I mean, but it's the other areas that I fear this is going to start drifting off to. Even in the politics, it just really, really frightens me. But on the surface, Wyatt, do you like the idea of Al Michaels doing like the nightly recap of what's going on in the Paris Olympics?
I guess he's got some sort of non-compete or something like that, or maybe he just doesn't want to do it. I would rather
he's going to do it.
I would rather it just be Al Michaels himself, not Al Michaels AI.
I don't think that if you're going to do it on a daily basis, and I guess didn't appear to me in the article he was going to be in Paris, but they just create his voice and he does the highlights, and I've heard him. You can't tell the difference. I mean, it's AI. But,
that's a very slippery slope considering everything regarding AI and all this other stuff nowadays.
Yeah, because, you can produce somebody's voice and likeness. You need their permission. People aren't going to do that. I mean, you just think about the possibilities and go in the other direction. Politically, having somebody call you, politically, somebody having you appear on your screen in the morning, you dial it up, and there's the ex-politician talking about everything that's going on, and it's the exact opposite. In fact, when I first really found out and understood how deep this could go, it was actually at a meeting at Tide, and I was a little jaw-dropped over the many ways that they could use AI. One of the problems that I had with it, and why you should too, is if they can recreate your voice or my voice and use it, and you are supposed to get permission, but if you start using, a lot of these people are given their permission, and you can put play-by-play on a game that normally Wyatt would do, wouldn't that aggravate you a little bit?
It would, but at the same, I feel like if they've got my permission, then I'm going to be getting some sort of money. Probably not as much money as I would get if I actually was doing if I'm getting paid, we'll use some of the numbers for the actual big wigs in sports media who are calling games. If I'm getting paid $10 million a year to call games and to research and to be paying attention to the NFL, we'll say, if I'm getting paid $10 million a year, but they can use my voice and only pay me $2 million a year, I think it's a way that people will turn around to try to save money, try to cut budgets, try to, cheapen things out a little bit considering the state of the current economy. And then I think you'll have to get their permission, and nobody's going to give their voice away for free, but it would allow these people to go pursue other endeavors. For example, if I want to call, if my AI voice is calling this NFL game, okay, well, I can go call another event that's happening on some other network, or if there's a non-compete, a later event or something like that. Or you just save the real person for your big, like the Super Bowl. You're not going to have AI call the Super Bowl or anything like that. But I still have an issue with it, but I see why companies are trying to do something like this. I imagine it's probably a way that they can use the same voice that a lot of people know and recognize, just on a much, much cheaper scale.
Yeah, but I worry that it takes jobs away from guys that are trying to work their way up. Suddenly Al Michaels lends his voice, and I'm kind of going off the boundaries here to explain my concerns for it. But what if you could get just a generic voice guy, and you could have that guy do all the play-by-play for all the high school games in America? I mean, I realize that's an exaggeration, but it does concern me. And then on the other side, with all respect to Chris Stewart, but what if somebody said, or they allowed it, what if they could get John Forney's voice and come back, and not for the actual broadcast, which I understand they can do now, but would you like to hear, how about Harry Carey? Would you like to hear Harry Carey do a Cubs game? I'm thinking I would love to hear Pat Summerall do the Masters again, but what's Jim Nantz going to think about that? You see where I'm going? And it seems to be stepping on each other.
Yeah, I definitely see where that's coming from. And, sometimes you've got these, voices who seem bigger than the broadcast itself, where you hear that voice. Doesn't matter if it's, Saturday watching the college football game, or you hear it on Tuesday morning on some radio show. You stop and you listen when you hear that voice. Some people just have it. Some people don't. And so I I still have an issue with it. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's going to end up taking jobs away from people who are up-and-comers in the industry trying to work their way up. People like myself, you know, one of my goals is to be a college football broadcaster. Well, this is something like this is potentially going to take away that job and that opportunity from young people trying to work their way up in that industry.
On the other side, though, you could have somebody to do the voice for whatever university or college you're with, and they being the voice of Wyatt University. Then you could use Wyatt's voice. Of course, you're going to go do the football game live. You go do the basketball game live, some of the baseball. But then you could recreate the AI voice so that you would be on all the volleyball, you know, and all the tennis. Because, you know, those sports are being broadcast and streamed as well. So, I don't know. I'm glad to hear you, as a generation or two before me, say that you see the slippery slope here. And I certainly do as well. And my biggest concern that it's going to take jobs away from guys that are really capable of doing it. And in this case, it could be you.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a concern. It's something that I've thought about. It's something that, you know, if Al Michaels is going to agree to do it, well, then what's stopping them from saying, you know, okay, Tom Brady, you know, you're in the Fox broadcast booth now. We're going to take your voice and we're going to do AI. Hey, Tony Romo, we're going to use AI for your voice. We're going to, you know, and these guys, when they retire, when they move on, still leave their voice behind via AI. And when somebody could have taken the place of Al Michaels, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, when they move on from their broadcast career, now you've got the same guy. Even if they only use AI for another 10 years or so after the guy's retired and then they move on, that's still taking away a ton of jobs, a ton of opportunities for, I think there are a lot of very capable people that are out there waiting for their opportunity.
In its infancy, this started probably about 10 years ago, and then it was escalated by COVID, when the play-by-play and color guy would be sitting in a studio somewhere watching monitors, you know? And that bothered me too. Particularly would bother me as far as crews are concerned, because if you have the broadcast in a studio away from the actual site, then you're cutting down on the number of people that are going to be at the game shooting it, doing the sound for it. So it's all... It is, indeed, as you said, and I have overused, a slippery slope. Let's just hope that we handle it with kid gloves, because you and I can both see that could get out of control in a hurry. Okay, when we get back, we are going to be talking to Jeff Spiegel and about all things sports, about what he's going to lead with tonight on 3340. Who knows? He might be at the beach with Gary Harris. I don't know. But I do know one thing I'm going to discuss with all of us. What about this kid, this 7'9"? Yes, I said that. Almost 8 feet tall. 7'9" player. This is unbelievable. Basketball, obviously. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break as you listen to the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 and 1230 WTVC. And don't forget to download the app.
Header, double whammy. You know, basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Happy birthday, Gary. He's taking some time off. Matt Coulter sitting in. And this will be a comfortable segment, as it was with Roger Schultz about an hour ago. So we bring on Jeff Spiegel from ABC 3340. Jeff, it's been a while since we've spoken. How have you been?
Good, man. How are you?
Life's good. So it's really good. Got some rain overnight. Almost went outside at 2 o'clock in the morning just to stand in it.
I know. It was so good because it's been so hot and dry.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know if you were able to, because you're in Birmingham, you're getting ready, you're doing all your stuff here with 3340. But I found with great interest, and I don't know if you've seen it yet or not, because I just found it this morning, that they're going to use Al Michaels' AI voice to recap the daily highlights of what's going on at the Paris Olympics. He's in line with it. Obviously, they had to get his permission in order to do so. What are your thoughts on stuff like that?
I think it's a good idea. That's kind of where we are now, with this. And I'm totally fine with it. And, I guess Al needs a paycheck or something, or his AI guy does. But yeah, I think it's just very interesting and intriguing, this whole AI world that we've entered into. And I've talked to some people who've had to give speeches, and they've used AI to kind of help them write their speeches.
Yeah.
And so I could see instances where, it's very helpful. I can also see instances where, just like anything else, where, it could be detrimental. Like, I think people are using AI to scam people. And but listen, I love Al Michaels, and I would listen to Al Michaels all day long, 8 days a week. And I'm perfectly fine with Al Michaels' AI.
Would you, and I know I'm taking it to the extreme, but in this case, AI is going to do it too, so I might as well start pushing it. Would you tune in on a Monday night at Wrigley if they could recreate Harry Carey?
Who? Yeah, absolutely. Look, some of those greats in the past. And you know what? I'll go a little further. I'll go with who was the other? Is either a Cubs or Cardinals guy? Was it Brickhouse?
Yeah.
Some of those guys.
Tom Brenneman, Vince Scully.
How about this? How about this? How about Keith Jackson? How about that?
And Frank Broyles.
Oh,
that would tear the roof off.
Are you kidding? You'd be so into that.
But what about the poor guys that were supposed to do the game? Or would you put it on you'd put it on an alternate channel, right?
Oh yeah, like ESPN does with their college football championships and Super Bowls and all that stuff. Oh yeah, you put it on an alternate channel and people would just eat that up. I'm sure they would.
Well, just don't want to start dancing on top of Jeff Spiegel and Matt Coulter.
Now, when you were growing up and you were watching like the Monday Night Baseball game of the week, how much did you enjoy, the Kurt Gowdys, the Tony Kubeks, the Joe Garagiolas, and all that? Just thinking about those guys, just kind of really takes me back to kind of a simpler time, when there wasn't as much sports on TV, but the sports that you got on TV, you were like thankful to have it, And I'm not saying that we're flooded too much with sports now. I can't get enough of it, but back then when it was dished out to you a little bit at a time, I think you really appreciated it more.
One of the 1 million plus things that I loved about the MLB Rick Wood, salute to the Negro Leagues, when they, for half an inning, they went to black and white. Fox did.
Oh my gosh.
You may have been at the game. Did you see that?
I saw it. I was watching, we were down at the beach and I was watching the telecast and I was just like, oh my goodness. And how about the fact that they even tweaked the audio a little bit to make it sound, 1954-ish? I love.
And they
that
shut down. They limited the number of camera angles. Did you notice that?
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yes, it was so good. It was so good. I loved it, and I love Smoltz's comment about, "Boy, I sure hope they don't have a replay review here, because we don't have that many angles." But that was really fun. Look, every single minute of that broadcast, I really, really enjoyed. I mean, when they had Reggie in the booth, but especially when they had, the Negro League museum president there. He told all those stories about, Cool Papa Bell and Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson and all those great players. And you could just picture in your mind just those guys, taking swings and running the bases and all of that. It was really cool stuff.
Hey, let's continue with Jeff Spiegel from 3340. Let's see if we can squeeze a call in here. I understand Pat is on the line waiting. He might like to join the conversation. Pat, how you doing? And welcome to the Gary Harris Show.
Good afternoon. Matt Coulter, I hadn't heard you in quite some time, and I really do appreciate you being back on the air, even if it's just for a vacation in Gary Harris. But it's nice to hear your voice again. But,
thank you very much, Pat.
You're welcome, Matt. What I called about is that, are you telling me that I'm going to be able to hear Howard Cosell and Dandy Don Meredith again? Man, I would actually watch Monday Night Football. But, Howard was so good, but Dandy Don, the color and stuff and all that he did was just absolutely phenomenal.
That's another one. Just like using the Harry Careys and the Vin Scullys of the world. And it would be awesome. The big deal there is Jeff and I were just talking about, don't let it take the jobs of the guys that are already doing it.
Well, I tell you what I'd hate to hear, though. I'd hate to hear Fife saying, touchdown Auburn, oh my gosh.
Well, you that would be, bunch of it.
I want to shoot myself.
Yeah, but you can do that. It's my understanding they got the technology. Pat, appreciate your call. You got a final comment?
Yeah. I just said, hey, you need to get you one of those shirts that said, I believe in DeBoer, because, hey, nobody thought he could. They thought that he would be able to recruit some. Nobody thought he could do what he's doing, and it looks like to me that if everything's forecast, everything I'm reading, that Bama's going to have the number one recruiting class, and the rest of the college football world is going to go bat crap crazy.
Well,
you got to agree?
They're used to it, aren't they? Pat, thank you for your call, man.
Yes, sir. Have a blessed one.
Yeah, you too. Have a blessed day. I've read a couple of different stories that say Alabama's 1 or 2 in recruiting. Have you seen the same thing, Jeff?
Yeah, they're second 24/7 Sports behind Ohio State.
Yeah.
And look, there's some 5-stars out there. The receiver Caleb Cunningham, the tackle, I think, Ty Haywood is still out there. And, they're projected via the crystal balls that, they're going to get them. And it's been, it's been really something to watch. And I'll tell you, one of the cool things, from yesterday, when Jamarcus Shepard was on, I think, with Wimp and Barry, on Top 100.9. And I just love that interview. I mean, I love Shepard's energy. And you know what? I also love this too. Sometimes guys can come in, from another school, and they can act like, boy, man, you guys are lucky to have us, and we know what we're doing, and we're going to reinvent, Alabama football. You could have some guys come in with an ego like that. But Shepard, and I think this speaks for the entire coaching staff, came in and, man, they're grateful for this opportunity. And they feel lucky, to be, where they are. And Shepard mentioned, one of the great quotes from the broadcast interview yesterday was, look, if you are outside of the Alabama football program, you want to know what in the heck they're doing there and how in the heck they're doing it. There are people today wondering how Kalen DeBoer is doing this, how he's come in first year, first recruiting class, and they're number 2 in the nation. How's he doing that? And then he said, and you know what? When you get here, you find out how they're doing it, and you don't want to tell anybody. You don't want to tell anybody how they're doing it because it's different. And man, I thought that just blew me away. I mean, when he said that, because, you know, this is a team that was in the national championship game last year. This is a team who had the number one offensive line in the country last year. They've got every reason to come in and pound their chest and say, hey, man, you guys are lucky to have us. But his opinion is, we are so lucky to be here.
That interview, Wyatt, click on real quick and help me out, because I want to make sure. You're the third or fourth person to mention that interview and its impact.
It's so great.
For it to open to seasoned veterans' eyes like yourself. Is that available online when you click on to the Tide website? How do people find that, Wyatt?
So you can find it anywhere that we post our podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Tide 100.9 app. We upload them all. It should all be available. Jamarcus Shepard's interview with Wimpenberry yesterday. And then the offensive line coach, Chris, I believe it's Kapilovic, I may be pronouncing that wrong, also did an interview with Ryan Fowler yesterday afternoon.
Well, guys, that's something we're just not accustomed to at all over the last 17 years. You know?
Yeah,
it's
right.
One of the things that I did not like is because the assistant coaches are the real source for information in the college football team. But Saban wouldn't allow that.
Yeah. Well, and you know, we had a big meeting with Coach DeBoer, just the media folks. You know, we're kind of in a roundtable session with him. It was off the, no cameras allowed and all that stuff. But he talked about the access, and he talked about how, he wanted to have his assistant coaches out there. He wanted to put them out there. He wanted to have them do interviews. And part of it was because, he wanted to give them practice at this, because a lot of these guys are going to be head coaches one day. True. And you don't want your guys doing their first ever, TV interview as a college football head coach. You want them to be comfortable in front of the camera and be able to, handle themselves in the right way. And Shepard knocked it out of the park yesterday, man. He was so doggone good.
Were you in New Orleans when Alabama beat Miami in 92? Actually, it's 93. Were you there?
Absolutely, yes.
Do you remember Gene Stallings did that with us? It was something that Coach Bryant and Coach Bryant had done it for many, many years. He would have a breakfast for all the members of the media, the Alabama contingency, and he'd say, leave your pens, your pads, your cameras, all that stuff, leave it in your rooms. And everything was off the record. But you were there.
I'll never forget it. Never forget it. It was so great.
It was so great because I remember I asked a question. I'm not going to repeat it now, but it was totally off the record. And man, he just answered it straight up. And the media took advantage of it, man. We were asking him some questions we would never dream of asking.
Right. Yeah. It was really an incredible session. That whole week was just an amazing week in my career. I mean, I'll never ever forget that. And it was really cool. But I mean that was a really cool thing, that Coach Stallings did, and that Coach DeBoer did, just kind of laying out the plan for how he's going to do things and all of that. And I came away very impressed with him, and thinking, when I left that room, that this is a guy, if Gene Stallings was on the search committee, Gene Stallings would vote to hire that guy. I mean, because I just think he's really good at what he does.
Well, I do remember, and the week leading up was almost as fun as the game, because there were confrontations down on Bourbon Street, and Miami was macking and smacking and talking, and Alabama was not. And they called Roosevelt, was it Roosevelt Patterson they called a big fat A? Was it him? And then he just ended up blowing Miami's defensive line off the ball.
Well, here's what I'll never forget. Lamar Thomas, was talking some smack in an interview session. And then in the next, then Alabama, the defense, it was their turn to be interviewed. And someone asked Antonio Langham about the stuff Lamar Thomas was saying. And Langham said, don't let your mouth write a check that your butt can't cash. That's what Antonio Langham said. And man, did they go out and let those guys have it. It was so much fun to watch.
You know who let someone have it after that? Stallings got Antonio aside and said, Antonio, don't you ever. But you know who backed it up? Antonio Langham and that Alabama defense, in addition to their offense. So, hey, I don't know what the procedure is here. Can you stay a few more minutes and just wrap the show up with me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I teased this 7-9 guy, and I'll talk about that with Jeff Spiegel as we continue and wrap up the Gary Harris Show.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of The Game, we're going to feature Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com, the editor, the founder. We're going to talk about what's next in the world of Alabama recruiting. That and a lot more with your phone calls at 205-342-9904. Starting at 2 p.m. here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in
header, double whammy, basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions in both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201. Old Colony is operated by Paramount.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather not as hot today. A mix of sun and clouds, a few scattered showers and storms, mainly this afternoon and this evening. The high today 91, tonight's low 73. Tomorrow, partly sunny, a passing shower or storm possible during the day. The high 94. I'm James Spann on the ABC 30-40 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 75 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide football.
Alabama touchdown.
Only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
I'll bet many of you are like I was as a child. I hung around the Y. Man, had a great gym, great facilities. They organized leagues where we play ball and basketball, that kind of stuff. But that's the way it is across the nation. The Y is leading voice on health and well-being. They bring families closer together, encourage good health, foster connections through fitness, sports, and fun. Yes, they do. As a result, millions of youths, adults, and families are receiving support, guidance, and resources needed to achieve greater health for spirit, mind, and body. Go by and visit the YMCA of Tuscaloosa today, 2300 13th Street, or call them for more information at 205-345-9622. Did you ever hang around the Y? That's where we had all our basketball games. Jeff Spiegel was our
when I was growing up, my hangout place was Engle Park in Coleman, Alabama. I would ride my bicycle 5 miles from Good Hope to Coleman and play pickup games and, play some tennis out there. Our local YMCA, I coached a few years of basketball and soccer, and it's fantastic. So, yeah, I have a lot of great things to say about the YMCA.
All right. Have you heard about 7'9" Oliver Rio?
Yeah. I read the story about him. Amazing.
He's from Montreal. Why are French and French Canadians suddenly growing through the tops of the trees. But anyway, he was 7 feet tall at the age of 12. God. But anyway, have you seen the video? Give me your evaluation of Oliver.
Well, he's got some skills. I think he's going to be on the University of Florida's roster. So obviously, there's some interest in him. I love the fact, when I read this, that, some guys, when they're tall like this, they're awkward. They're kind of shy. They kind of feel out of place. They feel kind of freakish, but this is a guy who's always embraced, being taller, and he loves it. He loves being 7'9". And, but I was impressed that, he's not the tallest man in the world, Matt. Did you read who the tallest man in the world is?
I don't know. There's some guy that's like almost 9 feet tall.
He's 8'3". He's a Turkish farmer. Yeah. So I want to see those guys go one-on-one. Obviously, I think this guy's got more skills than a Turkish farmer. But that would
that's going to be on a T-shirt somewhere. Oliver has more skills than a Turkish farmer. I don't know. That's very funny, Jim.
On the basketball court, anyway. Now, this Turkish farmer, he could farm circles around the 7'9" guy. But on the basketball court, I'm not sure he could hold that.
Nice comeback.
Oh, man.
It reminds me of something, and I guess this was back in 1988. I was talking with Wimp, and we were talking about the NBA draft, ironically enough, which is yesterday and today. And he was talking about Rick Smits. And I can't remember, you probably can, but there was a big debate over who they were going to take in 88 as the first pick, Smits or the other player. And I'd have to look up the NBA draft. But the point being, I remember Wimp saying, and everybody says it now, but he was the first one I ever heard, said, you can't coach height.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Right.
You can coach a guy to go better to his left, and to get position on a rebound, but you can't, in that case with Rick Smits, you can't coach 7'4".
Well, and I think this is a point that's important to make. You mentioned that he's been tall pretty much his whole life. So this is not a guy who hit a growth spurt between 11th grade and 12th grade, and he's had to learn from playing a power forward position to a center position. This is a guy who's, had to play at this height for quite a while. I mean, he's been taller than everyone else for quite a while. So he's mastered, I think the skill set, that a big man, has had to master, because he's had to do it, for quite a while. So I think he's probably got the jump, on a lot of big men who are entering their freshman year in college. So, will be soon. So I think that probably plays in his favor.
And one of the things I was watching in his highlight reel is he goes through the paint and he really doesn't even have to jump to dunk. He just kind of goes up on the toe and slams it in. It's almost odd looking. But the other thing, and I read about this, is that the guy, and you just mentioned it, great point, that he's been that tall so long, he swats shots away like flies.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's an art to that, too, blocking shots, no matter how tall you are. But, rim protector, sure. And I guess he's committed to Florida. I mean, I'm sure he hasn't signed yet. So that means Nate Oates still has an opportunity to get him, I think.
Oh, my. Alabama with a rim
Pearl.
protector. Yeah, but isn't Clifford going to take care of rim protection? Clifford, the big red dog?
Clifford's, I think, Clifford, the big red dog, is going to do a pretty good job of protecting the rim, better than anyone else at Alabama could last year.
And that would have won it all. But, that's a conversation for another show. What are you going to lead with tonight and tell everybody about the zone? We got about 40 seconds.
Sure. I mean, we'll talk about the NBA draft. And, this is one of those years, where you walk in the office and you have no idea what's going to be the lead, but something always seems to happen. And, so that's kind of what we're counting on. We got USA Panama soccer today at 5 as well. Copa America, baby.
And the zone on Sundays?
Sunday, 10:30 on ABC 3340. And love getting back together with you, Matt. Appreciate you, man.
Me too. Thank you, Jeff, very much. Hey, that wraps it up on the Gary Harris Show. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Wyatt Fulton is next on Tide 100.9 and 1230 WTBC.
Thank you for listening